Hello there, this is Linda Jo Martin, the Book Lady, and I am here talking to you today about writing. And I do a writing video every week, usually Wednesday or Thursday. So I thought today, since I haven't told you yet about what's in the February chapter of A Writer's Book of Days, I would just go over some of the chapter sections with you so you'll know what's in there and maybe get a little writing information at the same time. So the first thing that she said in the February chapter was trust your pen. And I'm going to read just a little bit of this to you. When you first read a writing practice topic, an image will appear. First thought, best thought. This first thought comes from your intuitive mind, where the creative process finds its foothold and the ego holds no sway. This is the place of rich images and deep thoughts. So I've been trying to practice that throughout February, just going with the first thought, really trying to follow the writing teacher's advice. And the writing teacher is Judy Reeves, the author of this book. So the second section was about timed writings. Third section was about pay attention. Basically, you have to pay attention to the world so that you can write about it. The fourth section is write from the senses. Fifth is auditioning words. The sixth section is self-sabotage, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute and read a little bit. Let's just keep going. The difference between writing practice and journal writing. Invoking the muse. 10 daily habits that make a good writer. Who reads your writing? And snowbound, or the serendipitous effects of bad weather on a good writer. And that was all the section topics for chapter 2, which was the February chapter. And coming back to self-sabotage, I just really identified with a lot of these things. So I thought I'd read them to you, see how you feel about them. For instance, not keeping appointments with yourself to write. Allowing others' needs, wants, or schedules to interfere with your writing time. Allowing people you don't trust to read your writing. Comparing your first draft writing to somebody else's finished, published piece. Not completing pieces. Stopping when the going gets tough or things get uncomfortable or when you feel stuck. And there's more to the list, but I'm not going to read them all out. If you're a novelist, do you have any unfinished novels? Because I certainly do. I have several that are unfinished, and it's really a shame. Yeah, I need to work on that. So, more recently, I was reading in the March section, and I found something that I wanted to share with you. It's called the Simile Practice. Here it is. It's in a section called How to Find and Claim Your Own Language. And it has a lot of different ideas about how you can claim your own language. In other words, find your writer's voice. So I marked all the ones that I thought might have some use for me that I will be trying in the future. But here's one that I wanted to share with you. It's called Simile Practice. And it says list 5 scents, sounds, emotions, tastes, textures, things you see, then create similes, something that is like something else for each item. Do it quickly without thinking too hard. Avoid the easy cliche. Your something else will speak in your own language. So basically, the simile is that something that you're trying to describe is like something else. So I'm going to do what she said and list, well, she said list 5 things. I actually have 7 on my list, but I'm going to read them out to you. And if you'd like to stop the video and get a pencil, you can just write down what you think each one of these things is like and just go with your first impression to see what you have in your subconscious, I guess. So go get a pencil. Okay, I'm going to read the list now, and when I read it, you can just stop the video and write down what you think each one of these things are like. The first one is oranges. Oranges are like. The second one, candles. Willow tree. A baby's cry. Camaraderie. Independence. Bumpy roads. And that's the last one. So hopefully you stopped the video in between each one of those things and wrote down what you thought those things were like. And so I will do it also this week, and I'll share my results with you next week, because I do my writing videos just once a week. So the next part of my video is, as usual, to choose a number, and I'm going to read you a story. So I've been writing flash fiction, short stories this year. I really wanted to write one a day, but I haven't been able to fulfill that goal. I've been doing a lot better. I've written quite a few this month, but then the last 2 days I had something come up in my personal life that made it kind of hard for me to spend time story writing. So I just do the best I can. It doesn't take long because the stories that I write are only about 15 minutes, half an hour at the most. It doesn't take me long to write them. They're flash fiction, and I'm aiming for less than 500 words. So I have all my stories written in this notebook, and so they're all numbered, and I'm going to choose a number from these little slips of paper, and whatever number I pick, I will read you the story that corresponds with that number. This way it stays very random, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to be reading. So these are all written. I have to explain this every week because I've always figured there's somebody new who doesn't know this stuff yet. So these are written on the little tags that come off my tea bags, and they have quotes on them. So I'm going to get the number, and then I'm going to read you the quote that corresponds with the number. And here's the number for tonight. It is number 20. And the quote is, "If you're going to do something tonight that you'll be sorry for tomorrow, sleep late." That was said by Henny Youngman. Can't say I really agree with that advice, but okay. That was bound to come up sooner or later. Story number 20. The prompt is an immobile time not marked on clocks. And that prompt comes from a writer's book of days. It has a prompt for every day of the year. So the title I gave to this is The Case of the Missing Clocks. Horace lives for clocks. He collected clocks for 50 years. He owns a clock and watch repair shop. He knows everything there is to know about clocks, or so he thinks. He thinks he has conquered the citadel of clock comprehension, and it is time for a vacation. He decides to tour the world and look at famous clocks. He travels to London first to see the Shepherd Gate clock, origin of Greenwich Mean Time. Next, he views Big Ben before spending precious time at London's Science Museum, where the Wells Cathedral astronomical clock displays a miniature universe. At Salisbury Cathedral, he sees the oldest time mechanism in the world. And there are other clocks to see. He leaves Great Britain to view clocks in Germany and France, Switzerland and Italy, Morocco, Yemen, Russia, Japan, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the United States. He goes all over the world watching pendulums swing and gears turn and hands go round. When the tour ends and he returns to his home, he is shocked to find his display cases empty. While he was away, traipsing around the globe, viewing the world's timekeeping wonders, someone has come into his shop, and removed all his old friends. Gone is his 1854 Gustav Becker wall clock. His J.J. Elliott clocks are missing too, and the Parker and Whipple 1882 alarm clock he'd been treasuring since he himself was only 22. Gone, the treasures, one and all. Horace examines his shop to determine how the thieves obtained entry. He phones the Philadelphia police. He berates himself for having gone so long for a vacation. Finally, he has a heart attack and dies. He found himself in a timeless vortex, floating along without stress, and without his body, of course. He sees an angel bearing his precious Gustav Becker wall clock. It is fairly useless here, the angel says, but we thought you might be happy to see this again. Horace stops and examines the clock and sees that it works even outside of time. He polishes the lovely mahogany surfaces and smiles at the angel, who returns a concerned, sympathetic look. You will like living here, the angel says. You can have any clock you want. Oh, but they can't keep time, Horace says. Time has passed me by, and even though I tried all my life to keep it, now I've lost it. We've got something better than time here, the angel reassured him. Here we've got love. Love? What does that mean to someone who has never loved anything but clocks? The angel smiles. Horace, she says, I think that's what you're here to find out. Horace tucked the old antique clock under his arm and took hold of the angel's proffered hand. I accept my fate, he said, with a grin. Show me now how to begin. Thus, the old clock repairman started his new adventure in a place beyond time, where real life is big and bold. End of story. So it's kind of fun to read those kind of randomly because I never know what's going to come up, and usually it's something I simply don't remember. I didn't know the end of that story. I just didn't know. So the last part of my writing video each week is to read something, one line, out of a list of 30 suggestions left to us by Jack Kerouac. And so I believe we're up to item number 10. No time for poetry, but exactly what is. Interesting how that worked in with the clock thing, you know? I've been finding during my reading here on BookTube that a lot of the books that I choose to read are having similarities. For instance, I'm starting to read Gulliver's Travels, and at the same time, I'm reading 2 other books that mentioned Gulliver. I mean, that to me feels totally random, because Bedlam Stacks and Hello Universe both have an animal named Gulliver, plus I'm reading Gulliver's Travels, and I found other things like that happening, correspondences, and here we have no time for poetry, but exactly what is. My writing of flash fiction short stories has progressively gotten more difficult for me. I don't know what I'm going through. I think that it's going to teach me something, that there's going to be some kind of a breakthrough, but in the meantime, I'm reading the poetry first, and most recently I've decided to write poetry first. So I just give it like 10 minutes to write down a quick poem, which my poems are free verse. I'm not trying to rhyme things. I could if I wanted to, but I don't. And so I'm doing that first, and hopefully it will have a good effect on my ability to write short stories. So that's all I have for you today. Sure hope you're having a good day and that everything is going well in your life. And I'll talk to you in another video.